Transforming shyness through Stoic mastery. Shyness is a common but complex experience, affecting millions worldwide. It's more than just a fleeting hesitation or discomfort in social settings. It's a deeper, pervasive barrier that influences our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Shyness can hold us back from expressing our ideas, building meaningful relationships, and seizing opportunities. It creates a gap between our inner potential and our outer expression, often making us feel trapped in our own minds. Shyness, when left unchecked, can become more than a personality trait. It can transform into a debilitating barrier that impacts every aspect of life. In the professional sphere, it can prevent talented individuals from speaking up in meetings, asking for promotions, or leading projects. Socially, it can create a sense of isolation, making it difficult to form close relationships or even engage in casual conversations. Over time, this self-imposed isolation can lead to loneliness, anxiety, and even depression. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot always control the external world, we have complete control over our internal responses. Shyness is not a permanent state, but a series of habits and thought patterns that can be understood and reshaped. By applying Stoic principles, we can challenge the underlying fears that fuel shyness and gradually develop the courage to act in alignment with our true selves. If this kind of content resonates with you, please give the video a like to help share these valuable insights with others. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Let's dive deeper. 1. Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is a distorted self-view where we undervalue our abilities and potential. It's often influenced by external comparisons and societal expectations, both of which are beyond our control. The Stoics emphasize focusing only on what we can control, our thoughts and actions. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The world does not assign value to us, we do. The Stoics would argue that self-esteem should be grounded in virtue, not in external validation or accomplishments. Sarah is a software developer who consistently underestimates her abilities. Despite her expertise, she hesitates to apply for a senior position, fearing she isn't good enough compared to her colleagues. Her low self-esteem prevents her from showcasing her skills, leaving her stuck in the same role. Inspired by Epictetus' teachings, Sarah decides to focus on her actions rather than external recognition. She starts a personal project to build an app, allowing her to develop her skills further. By setting her own benchmarks for progress rather than comparing herself to others, she slowly gains confidence in her abilities. Sarah practices affirmations daily, such as, "I am improving my skills," and tracks her progress, celebrating small wins to build her self-esteem. 2. Introversion. Introversion isn't shyness but can often lead to it when social norms pressure introverts to act against their nature. The Stoics teach us to embrace our essence and focus on where we naturally thrive, using our solitude for self-reflection rather than self-isolation. Marcus Aurelius, himself an introvert, wrote in Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He used his introversion as a source of strength, finding wisdom in solitude and applying it when he interacted with others. John is a data analyst who enjoys working alone. His company hosts regular social events, but he often skips them, feeling drained by the prospect of mingling with large groups. His introversion makes him feel disconnected from his team, contributing to feelings of shyness. Reflecting on Marcus Aurelius' embrace of solitude, John starts using his alone time for self-reflection and preparing conversation topics that interest him. He sets a goal to attend just 15 minutes of each event to gradually acclimate to social settings without overwhelming himself. John practices mindfulness meditation before attending social events, focusing on his breath to center himself, reducing the initial anxiety he feels. 3. High sensitivity. High sensitivity can lead to hyper-awareness of others' emotions and potential criticisms. The Stoic approach is to develop apatheia, a state of being undisturbed by external opinions. Seneca wrote, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Sensitivity often stems from anticipating pain before it happens. The Stoic goal is not to numb oneself but to become resilient, recognizing that the power lies in our response. Emily, a graphic designer, receives feedback from a client who suggests several changes to her design. Although the feedback is constructive, Emily feels hurt and questions her creative abilities, leading her to hesitate before submitting future work. Following Seneca's advice, Emily reframes the feedback as an opportunity for growth rather than a personal attack. She begins to ask herself, "What can I learn from this?" instead of reacting emotionally. Over time, she becomes more resilient and open to critique. Emily keeps a journal where she writes down feedback she receives, categorizes it as constructive or unhelpful, and reflects on what she can improve. This helps her differentiate between criticism and valuable feedback. 4. Fear of judgment. The fear of judgment is rooted in ego, the desire for external validation. Stoicism teaches us to look inward for approval, basing our self-worth on our own virtues rather than others' perceptions. Epictetus asks us, "Who exactly are you trying to impress?" The Stoics believe that trying to control others' opinions is futile because it lies beyond our sphere of control. Our focus should be on living according to our principles. Michael wants to start a YouTube channel about his passion for photography. However, he fears negative comments and public scrutiny. As a result, he procrastinates and never uploads any videos, letting his fear of judgment prevent him from sharing his work. Inspired by Epictetus' teaching on the futility of seeking external approval, Michael decides to focus on his own values, sharing knowledge and expressing creativity. He uploads his first video with the mindset that the content should reflect his passion, not conform to what he thinks others want. Michael practices negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario, a few negative comments, and realizing that his fear is exaggerated. This reduces his anxiety and allows him to take action despite the fear of judgment. 5. Insecurity. Insecurity often stems from a perceived lack of something external, be it skills, looks, or status. The Stoic perspective is to shift focus from what we lack to what we can cultivate within ourselves, virtues like courage, wisdom, and self-discipline. Seneca states, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Insecurity can be an invitation to prove our resilience by facing our fears head-on. Lisa, a recent college graduate, feels insecure about her lack of work experience. At networking events, she stays quiet, convinced that more seasoned professionals won't find her insights valuable. Following Epictetus' guidance to focus on one's inner qualities, Lisa decides to shift her mindset. Instead of viewing herself as inexperienced, she reframes her insecurity as a motivation to learn. She starts conversations by asking questions, showing curiosity and eagerness to learn from others. Lisa sets a goal to initiate 3 conversations at each event, focusing on asking insightful questions rather than trying to impress others. This reduces her insecurity and helps her build confidence in her interactions. 6. Perfectionism. Perfectionism is a form of control, a way to shield ourselves from criticism by striving to be beyond reproach. However, it's rooted in a fear of failure, which Stoicism teaches us to embrace as a teacher. Epictetus teaches, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." The focus should be on effort, not on a perfect outcome. Perfection is an illusion, excellence is achievable. David, a writer, has been working on a novel for years. He revises the first chapter repeatedly, striving for perfection. His perfectionism prevents him from moving forward, and he hasn't finished a draft in over 5 years. David reflects on the Stoic concept of amor fati, acceptance of fate. He realizes that striving for a perfect first draft is counterproductive. Instead, he sets a goal to write a complete draft, accepting imperfections as part of the creative process. David implements the Pomodoro technique, dedicating 25-minute intervals to writing without editing. This practice helps him prioritize progress over perfection, gradually completing his manuscript. 7. Anxiety. Anxiety often arises from imagining negative future scenarios. The Stoics believed in the practice of premeditatio malorum, preparing for the worst mentally so that we are not surprised or overwhelmed when difficulties arise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By accepting the uncertainty of life, we reduce our anxiety about the unknown. Rachel is preparing for a big presentation at work. The night before, she can't sleep, worrying about potential mistakes she might make. Her anxiety spirals as she imagines every possible way the presentation could go wrong. Rachel applies the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum. She visualizes herself forgetting a point during the presentation, but calmly referring to her notes to recover. This exercise helps her accept that minor mistakes are normal and manageable, reducing her anxiety. Rachel creates a backup plan for a presentation, for example, having note cards ready. This gives her a sense of control, easing her anxiety and allowing her to focus on delivering her message. 8. Negative past experiences. Dwelling on past negative experiences traps us in a loop of self-doubt. The Stoics advocate for focusing on the present moment, where our actions and decisions hold the true power to shape our future. Epictetus advises, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Instead of lamenting the past, use each moment to live according to your principles, which will gradually reshape your narrative. After being embarrassed in a public speaking class years ago, Mark avoids any situation that requires him to speak in front of others. His fear of reliving the humiliation prevents him from advancing in his career, where presentations are often required. Inspired by Marcus Aurelius' teaching that the obstacle is the way, Mark decides to confront his fear head-on. He joins a local Toastmasters club to practice public speaking in a supportive environment, using past negative experiences as motivation to improve. Mark starts by giving short, low-pressure speeches on topics he loves. Gradually, he increases the complexity and length of his presentations, gaining confidence and reducing the hold of past experiences. 9. Overthinking. Overthinking is the act of excessive rumination, where the mind becomes trapped in cycles of self-doubt, anxiety, and indecision. The Stoic approach encourages us to practice simplicity of thought and focus on direct action. Overthinking often stems from the fear of making a wrong decision, but the Stoics remind us that inaction is a decision in itself, a choice to let fear dictate our lives. Marcus Aurelius advises in Meditations, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This simple rule of thumb helps prevent overanalysis by providing a clear standard for action based on virtue. Instead of getting lost in hypothetical scenarios, the Stoic approach is to assess what is virtuous and necessary in the present moment, then act accordingly. Samantha is planning to start her own business. She spends months overanalyzing every aspect of her business plan, worrying about potential pitfalls. Her overthinking prevents her from taking the first step. Drawing from Marcus Aurelius' principle of focusing on the present, Samantha decides to simplify her thoughts. Instead of perfecting every detail, she creates a basic prototype of her product to gather initial feedback. By taking action, she learns more in a month than she did from overanalyzing for half a year. Samantha practices the 2-minute rule. If a decision can be made in less than 2 minutes, she makes it without overthinking. This habit reduces her analysis paralysis and helps her take consistent action. 10. Lack of social skills. A lack of social skills often leads to shyness because of the fear of saying the wrong thing or not knowing how to interact effectively. Stoicism teaches us that social skills are like any other discipline. They require practice, observation, and learning from failure. It's not about innate talent, but about consistent effort and a willingness to engage with others. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This Stoic teaching emphasizes the importance of listening as a key social skill. By focusing on understanding others first, we can improve our interactions and reduce the pressure of performing perfectly. Tom, a new manager, struggles with leading team meetings. He feels shy and unsure of how to communicate effectively, often stumbling over his words. This lack of social skills makes him avoid leading discussions, causing his team to feel disconnected. Following Epictetus' advice on learning through practice, Tom decides to improve his social skills by observing skilled communicators. He watches TED Talks, takes notes on effective speaking techniques, and begins to apply them in small team meetings. Tom practices active listening in every conversation. By focusing on truly understanding his team members before responding, he becomes a more effective and confident communicator, gradually overcoming his shyness in social settings. Shyness is a habit of mind, a tendency to retreat in the face of uncertainty. But as the Stoics teach, we are not prisoners to our habits. By consistently applying Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, seeking inner growth, and accepting the inevitability of discomfort, we can transform shyness into a quiet confidence grounded in wisdom and virtue. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let your shyness become the path to deeper self-knowledge and strength.